move that somewhat assures parents of their children's safety, but also presents a dilemma for the teachers. The Ministry of Education now says that the 2020 school year is lost and schools will now reopen in January next year. The government had hoped to start the school calendar in September, but fears for the safety of the children rises. Gina Kirori also reports that tertiary institutions will be allowed to reopen in September, but under very strict protocols.
Our stakeholders here will not name.
Since May, meetings between concerned parents, health professionals, members of the clergy, just to name a few, sat in session after session, deliberating the fate of primary and high school students. Weighing the risk factors versus the need for the resumption of classes was evidently not an easy one, as the future of education was unclear until today afternoon.
There shall be no KCPE for the year 2020. Number two, the 2020 Standard 8 and Form 4 cohorts will sit their examinations later in the year of 2021.
The Cabinet Secretary, however, says the decision made by the committee is not cast in stone.
Should the situation change at any stage, then this committee that is behind me will have an opportunity to look at the situation again and see whether this can be brought forward.
Out of an estimated 10 million parents in the country, roughly 90% oppose the reopening of schools, as this meant putting their children in the menacing path of the virus. This is largely based on the fact that the country reported its highest case yet, only 2 days ago. The committee also had other reasons why it came to this decision. There are 752,000 Form 4 candidates and 1.2 million Standard 8 candidates, which would make finding classrooms where social distancing can be implemented for these numbers a challenge. The inter-county movement of students, especially in boarding schools, posed a high risk, especially those from Nairobi and Mombasa counties, which have reported a high number of infections. All learners in grade 1 to 4, 5 to 7 and Form 1 will also remain in their current classes until 2021. The committee's decision to start the school year on a clean slate will, however, present an academic nightmare, especially for students who are now unable to advance to the next grade. Teaching vocational educational training institutes have been given the green light to continue on with classes in September this year. The reopening of universities will, however, be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, but both will be subject to the Ministry of Health's guidelines, where inspection will be first done before reopening.
Well, the decision on whether or not to reopen schools is now certain. Students will have to stay at home until next year to continue on with their studies. But the Teachers Service Commission says they're looking into ways to cushion teachers from the effects of this lost academic year. Gina Kirori, NTV, Nairobi.